Nachos, muchachos, and welcome to America's favorite semi-pro football show, Major League Minor. A show that's not hosted by some left-wing wacko or some fake news organization. I'm your host. Like us on Facebook, Instagram, and our YouTube account at Major League Minor Shows. Week 7 was a great week for some really close games, a couple of blowouts in the MPFL, but some major changes going on in the rankings for both leagues. We'll have some scores, some rankings, of course, your favorite highlights with Chisield Adonis right after this.
Light them up again, baby.
Week 7 in the PAFA was probably the most competitive we've seen so far. So for more on the scores, let's go to the scores with Developmental Football USA. Like them on Facebook at Developmental Football USA to keep up with scores across the country.
The first game in the PAFA, we saw the Enid Enforcers travel to Oklahoma City to take on the Bulls. Both teams were vying for playoff position, but the Enforcers come away with this one by a final score of 17-8. The Oklahoma City Jaguars and the Kansas Cougars was a game that went back and forth all game long. But a last-minute field goal gave the Jaguars its 5th straight win and put them at number 1 in the PAFA standings this week. The game of the week was another close one. Those who watched it on Semi-Pro Football Saturday witnessed 2 heavyweights slugging it out. If you haven't seen it yet, scroll down on our Facebook page and watch it yourself. It was a great game. But the NWA battle come away with this one with a nail-biter to the end. Final score, 13-12.
For more on Week 7, we send you out to the Hold My Nuggets studios in New York with your host, Chisield Adonis.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your Week 7 PAFA game highlight commentary and a rematch from Week 2. The Northwest Arkansas battle traveled to take on the Joplin Crusaders, and the battle get the scoring started as Rylan Robinson connects with Christopher Griffith on 4th and 13 for a 25-yard touchdown. The Enid Enforcers line up for a field goal against the Oklahoma City Bulls, and much like eating ice cream after a breakup, you know it's gonna be good. Meanwhile, for the Oklahoma City Jaguars, the ball's going over their head like the bomb over Hiroshima. They try to pick it up and fire back offensively, but you can't shoot bullets with your gun on safety. 2 points for the Cougars. The battle looking to extend their lead as Rylan Robinson takes a snap from inside of his own end zone. He takes off running, but he's coughing up the ball as he fumbles on the play. It's recovered by Fernando Minnis, who goes into the end zone for the Crusader touchdown. They would try to give the battle 2 for their mistakes, but Steve Hamilton's pass would fall incomplete. Giovanni Knight would take the snap, take a visit to the barber shop, and ask Jacob Rudder, give me a fade. But the ball would be intercepted, and the Enid Enforcers would take a trip to McDonald's. Can I get a McPick-6? Ba-da-ba. Enforcers touchdown in this bitch. Rylan Robinson takes the snap, moving to his left, looking like he's got his man, but he donates the ball to the Joplin Crusader defense as it's intercepted by Walter Coleman running down the sideline, and he's gonna be stopped inside the red zone. Frederick Lawrence takes the snap and does his best impersonation of Solid Snake in a Metal Gear Solid game, cause he's sneaking down the field for a 35-yard gain. Meanwhile in Kansas, Reggie Langford takes the snap, turns into John Cena, and tells the OKC Jaguars, you can't see me, as he explodes for a 50-yard quarterback keep touchdown. Hamilton takes the snap. Hey, your receiver is covered by 2. I don't care. I trust in Sean Donahue for a 20-yard gain. And on the very next play, Steve Hamilton would find Tariel Johnson for the Joplin Crusaders touchdown. One quick look at what happened in the MPFL in West Texas as the Drillers took on the Lions. Faced with 3rd and long, Gaston Estrellas takes the snap. Rolling to his right, he finds Kamon Lunn, who keeps the drive alive, but on the very next play he would cough up the ball, and it's recovered by the West Texas Drillers. They would attempt to turn the turnover into points, but your field goal is declined, says the Lions. In the following quarter, Estrellas Esterellis would take the snap and he would find his man Chris Burns, who would burn the Lions defense and take it into the end zone for a 28-yard touchdown. They would look to extend their lead as Esterellis is yet again looking for Chris Burns, but his hands are just for decoration. This man's dropping the ball like it's New Year's Eve in New York City. The Lions looking to punt the ball back to the Drillers, but the punter can't handle the snap and misses the kick. His leg and hands are just for decoration. He couldn't handle the snap like Tony Romo in a 2006 playoff game. It's recovered by the Drillers inside the 5-yard line, and the Lions would get drilled as the Drillers would play a draw 4, reverse back to me, draw 2, 6 for your mistakes, and they go into the end zone for the score. On the ensuing kickoff, the Lions to receive the kick. DeMarquez Johnson takes the kick at his own 1-yard line and he's off to the races. Makes a couple of Drillers miss and he's in the open field, running away from defenders like a fat man runs away from a diet, and he's pushed out of bounds at the 31-yard line. On the very next play, Esterellis would take the snap and D. Lee would say, "You can't cover me," as he catches the ball at the 5 and goes into the end zone for the West Texas Lions touchdown. The Drillers looking to respond, but they're coughing up the ball, and Todd Mitchell turns into Chris Brown. "Give me that," and he's returning it all the way to the 11-yard line after a 22-yard fumble recovery. The Lions would look to extend their lead on 4th down, but they would be stopped at the 5-yard line. But the Drillers would show signs of Dan Orlovsky. You can't shoot bullets with your gun on safety as the quarterback runs out of bounds for a safety. What are you doing? 2 for your mistakes. Less than 2 minutes left to go. The Drillers have the ball at the 47-yard line, down by 8 points, and they're going to look to go for it all. But the ball would be intercepted by Andre Carlton of the West Texas Lions to seal the game. And he does the Carlton. It's not unusual for the Drillers to take this L as they fall 14-6. And that concludes our coverage of the MPFL. Let's get right back in to the PAFA. Following the Crusaders' touchdown, they would try to give the Battle 2 for their mistakes, but the Battle defense says, "No more Uno for you." And then the Enid Enforcers would look to add some points on the board, but the ball would be picked off in the end zone by Antonio Thomas, and the OKC Jaguars would finally get on the board as Renick would find Kenneth Price III in the end zone for a Jaguars touchdown. The Battle trailing 12-7, Robinson rolling to his right, looking for Kenneth. It goes through his hands and into the hands of Cook inside of field goal range. They would kick the field goal and cut their deficit to 2 points as they trail 12-10. The Enforcers at the 12-yard line take the snap and they tell the Oklahoma City Bulls, "I baptize you in the name of the Father. I baptize you in the name of the Son. I baptize you in the name of the Holy Spirit," as they would go into the end zone for the score and go on to win the game 17-8. Following the Oklahoma City Jaguar touchdown, they're kicking the ball off deep to the Kansas Cougars, down by 3 with less than 2 minutes to go. They pull out their football cards. It's a Devin Hester as they're getting a phenomenal return down the sideline, and he cuts across the field, but he didn't go to the gas station before because he's running on E, and he's tackled at the 15-yard line. 4th down, Reggie Langford takes the snap for the Kansas Cougars, rolling to his right with the game on the line. He lets the ball loose looking for the first down, but it's batted down and incomplete as the Oklahoma City Jaguars take the W over the Kansas Cougars 11-8. The Crusaders look to put the game away. Hamilton takes the snap looking towards the end zone, but it's intercepted by Shaquille Mobley. The Battle would travel into field goal range to set up the go-ahead field goal. It's kicked through the uprights and it's good. The Crusaders, with less than 10 seconds left to go, have to go the length of the field to get back into the game. Hamilton's pass falls incomplete, and the Northwest Arkansas Battle beat the Joplin Crusaders 13-12. For the Crusaders, the Bulls, the Cougars, and the Drillers, take out your Metro cards and get aboard the L train.
Always fun and entertaining to watch. Check out Chisield Adonis' other commentary. You can like him on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media accounts. Speaking of comments, that brings us to this week's Players of the Week. Now, Players of the Week are brought to you by Images and Tile. Go visit them at imagesandtile.com. What better way to relive your glory years on the gridiron with a mural in your man cave or your office? imagesandtile.com.
Our Offensive Player of the Week goes to number 1 of the Oklahoma City Bulls, Giovanni Knight. Knight, having a good season despite the Bulls not having a winning season, has managed to put up 5 touchdowns by completing 60 passes out of 106 attempts and picking up a total of 724 passing yards. Our defensive player of the week is number 10 for the Tri-City Panthers. Kyron Hill is having himself a breakout year by recording 41 tackles, 3 of those for losses, 1 sack, and 1 forced fumble.
And that'll bring us to this week's predictions, brought to you by T-Lake Apparel Company. Check out our friends at T-Lake. They've got the best uniforms, great prices for merchandise. Check them out at T-Lake. Ask for the Major League Minor discount.
This week in the PAFA, we'll see the third and final rematch between the Lawton Savages and the OKC Jaguars. The Savages don't have any quit in them, and they keep coming back for more. But the Jaguars will have this one easy in hand by a final score of 63-0. The Bulls will travel up I-35 to try their luck against the Kansas Cougars. But I think the Cougars will recover from last week's close loss and dominate the Bulls with the final 35-3. And that will bring us to this week's PAFA Game of the Week. This week's Game of the Week will be featured on Semi-Pro Football Saturday. Watch it live on our Facebook page or on the Springdale Sports Network page. Pre-game starts at 6:45. This week's matchup will show the Tri-City Panthers hosting the NWA Battle. The 4-2 Panthers are coming off a bye week and have prepared themselves for this game, which is going to be a close one. But I think the Battle have turned things around and have won 3 straight games in a row, so this will be a true test with playoff implications on the line. I have the Battle winning this one by a close one, 17-14.
We'll be right back after these messages to talk about the MPFL.
Here at Lightning Bell Bonds, we care about you and we will fight for you. We understand you are facing a difficult situation. You need someone like us on your side. We are courteous, detailed, and understanding. That's why we are Oklahoma's #1 choice for bail bonds. Being upfront and honest about everything is one thing we do here at Lightning Bell Bonds. Tell you straight how it is, and that way we can keep an honest relationship and be on the same page at all times. Give us a call today. My name is Ryan Gallimore, Lightning Bell Bonds, your first call to a brighter future.
Week 7 in the MPFL was a pretty competitive week. Some close games, tight scores. For more on this, we send you to the scores with Developmental Football USA.
The Stampede have separated themselves as top fuel and continue its conquest by beating the Dallas Vikings 54-30. Now, the #2 Texas War Eagles spread its wings against the DFW Reign and rained all over their parade with a final score of 26-6. Denton County plowed all over Arlington as they beat the Mustangs 56-6. And it was the West Texas Lions to come away with a close one by defeating the Drillers 14-6. Now, out in Amarillo, the Horned Frogs had taken care of the Otero Deserts Dogs with a nail-biter 6-3. And in last week's Game of the Week, the surprise upset of the year, the West Texas Pride knock off the Austin Vipers 7-0.
And that'll bring us to this week's MPFL predictions, brought to you by Recon Security Services. Don't go unprotected at your next event. Call Recon.
Some great matchups this week, starting with the Eagles over the Frogs 24-13. We're going to pick the Stampede over the Mustangs, an easy one, 63-0. And the Rhinos over the Reign, a 10-point variance, 31-21. We also have the Bullets over the Metro Pride, 28-10. The Bullets should lock and reload and get this one. The War Eagles will continue on. They're going to knock over the Raptors, 21-7. The Lions over the Dogs, 38-14. The Drillers over the Outlaws, 63-6. That brings us to this week's MPFL Game of the Week. This will be an Eastside battle. The DFW Vikings over the Austin Vipers in a very nail-biter close fashion, 14-10 for your upset of the week.
And for more on the MPFL and semi-pro in general, we send you out to the commissioner, former commissioner, now the CEO of the MPFL, J.C. Kimmy.
Thanks again for having me, Chris. Always a pleasure to be on with the boys from Major League Minor. This week, being the NFL draft, got me thinking about the 2 times that I had actually, in my former position as commissioner with the MPFL and my former position prior to that as commissioner of National Minor League Football, had actually presided over 2 player drafts. Now, the second one in the MPFL was not particularly a success, but we didn't have very high expectations for it. We knew that it was a high-minded concept. The first one, however, in National Minor League Football was back in 2009, and I can tell you point blank, we did not hold it at a stadium quite the magnitude of AT&T. But nonetheless, it was a player draft. Now, this one was unique because it was a contraction draft. I think all of us have, in one form or another, had an experience with an owner who started a team and then became persona non grata, disappeared. A lot of times with money, leaving a group of players, coaches, and people associated with them that had really put their faith and belief into the team. But with no owner and no money, these guys are kind of left in the wind to their own devices. Well, what we did in National Minor League Football was a contraction draft when this happened, and it was a dispersal of about 20 players. We even had a few trades of picks as the draft was conducted one evening in a parking lot out in Arlington. So not quite the pomp and circumstance, but pretty interesting nonetheless. And I certainly would, now that I've moved into the position of CEO in the MPFL and am not tied to commissioner duties anymore, I'd like to explore the options of having a player draft in the future. As always, log on to www.thempfl.com. Check out a game in your area. For Major League Minor, I'm JC Kimmey, CEO of the MPFL. We will catch you next week.
And that's our show, folks. Join us next week, Week 8, as we tackle all the scores, highlights, predictions, and everything in between on the next Major League Minor show.